Palestinian children are just as precious as Israeli children. This is something that is sometimes lobbed on those that support Israel in order to make a point that if you support Israel, then obviously you think that Israeli children are more important than Palestinian children. This is not the case. Check out this clip from Dennis Prager where he kind of goes through this argument, this ideology, and dismantles it. But before we watch that clip, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
Well, you know, Palestinian children are as precious as Israeli children or babies. Sometimes they do babies, sometimes they do children. So I always think about what people say. Now, is there anybody in the West, is there any pro-Israel supporter? Is there any Israeli? I mean, look, there are kooks everywhere, but is there any normal Israeli, typical Israeli who would ever say that's not the case? Who is it being directed at when people say, well, you know, Palestinian children are as precious as Israeli children? This is a very important subject to address because it seems to be making an important point, but in fact, it's either making an obvious point that nobody really needs to hear, since there is no movement in Israel to deny that Palestinian children are precious. It doesn't exist. Do you know, for example, and I cited in my column, how many Arab children, Palestinian children from the West Bank and from Gaza are treated in Israeli hospitals? Hundreds have been treated in Israeli hospitals, and I presume often for free because they don't have the money with which to pay the hospital. This is normative. No Israeli blinks about this. Of course we're going to treat Palestinian kids in our hospitals. Kid has cancer, you bring him to this ward, and that's expensive treatment. But it doesn't even occur to an Israeli to think, well, that's a Palestinian kid. We're not going to treat that kid with cancer. It doesn't occur in Israel. It is a given that all children are precious in Israel. So the people who make that point are almost always anti-Israel or pro-Palestinian, which basically is the same thing. And they're making it as if Israelis and their supporters need to hear that. Oh, gee, we didn't know that. Thank you for telling us that Palestinian children are as precious as Israeli children. As if we didn't know. That's why they're treated in Israelis' hospitals. That's why Israel, probably unique, I don't know, in modern, maybe in all of history. Do you know that when Israel has attacked Gaza after being attacked, they only attack after being attacked. They have actually let Palestinians, Gazans know where they will attack so that they can evacuate that building. And that kills the element of surprise for Israel. But they drop leaflets. They actually text Gazans on their phones, please evacuate your building. We are going to attack it. That's why you should watch our video at PragerU. Richard Kemp, I believe a brigadier general in the British Army, who was the head of all British troops in Afghanistan. He gives this presentation at PragerU that Israel is the most moral army in the world. And this is a member of the British Army, a high-ranking member.
It is a newsflash to nobody that innocent people dying is a bad thing. It's a sad thing. And that should be newsflash to literally nobody. The question is who bears responsibility for those innocent people's deaths. And that, in this case, lies squarely on Hamas. Hamas, who makes terror tunnels under hospitals, Hamas that purposely positions themselves in schools and other places where innocents live and purposely try that innocents will die. The more innocents will die in order that they can gain and garner public opinion. That is the one who bears the responsibility for all of this. They are the one who started it. They're the one that perpetuates it. They're the one that can end it. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.